All right. Welcome to the design dialogues for term two. Um, I'm Jean-Luc, of course. This is my design space for term two of MDEF. My project, as you can see, is called Indigifab. And this is the home and design space for citizen scientists. So basically, we're taking a look at the table. You're seeing different outputs from the Fab Lab here. And then we also have some tooling here that I'll go over in a second. But basically, this is thinking about a future point where um, Fab Labs are pretty ubiquitous. And we're thinking about having Fab Labs in every community. You know, what does it mean to sort of extend Fab Lab programming into the actual homes? What does it mean to actually center the needs and priorities of communities? So as you can see, I have an ancestor altar set up here. And it was important for me to actually have this as part of the display because I wanted everybody to see the juxtaposition of having the Fab Lab output plus having some very personal spiritual things as well within the space. So going over a couple of interventions that I've had. I'm sorry that this is backwards. Maybe I should like mirror my display, but I'm going to just go over really quickly. So intervention one, I was actually doing some very bare language documentation. So I was doing term one in Boston, Massachusetts, and then came here to Barcelona for term two. And so thinking about like how to reframe this in the geographical context, the research and the work that I was doing for term two. So I was going through Barcelona, neighborhood by neighborhood, and everywhere that I saw Catalan printed on the walls, I would actually take pictures of it. And what I found was that it was actually these examples right here, the street art, the graffiti that was a little bit more indicative of what was going on within the community versus this like very formal public notices. I was actually like learning more about like the needs and priorities of the community because, you know, it's not necessarily something that you actually print up versus it's something that is actually spray painted on the walls. So taking like the pictures and the transcriptions that I was doing from doing this sort of like local exploration, I started up an Instagram account. As you can see right here, each of these photos, you can actually go through the account, click on it, and you can actually hear the narration of like what was written in the street art. So basically, I was taking the pictures, the transcriptions, and I was running the language through a text-to-speech synthesizer tool called Katatron. And this is a tool that was trained by neural networks. So basically, I was getting the vocalization and kind of like modeling what it is to do community-based language documentation. Going from language documentation into handicrafts. Sorry for the wiggle camera here, but I'm holding my laptop in order to record this. So starting in with the third intervention, I have what's called processing handicrafts. So the structure at MDEF this year, we're actually going through Fab Academy, but every 4 weeks or so, we have what's called micro challenges. And so we're, instead of doing sort of like weekly cycle assignments, we're actually combining all of the skills together into like one larger project, which kind of like takes the weeks that were previously done. So we were combining, working together with another classmate, we were combining laser cutting, vinyl cutting, sorry, laser cutting, vinyl cutting, and also some computer aided design. But in this instance, what we were doing was taking P5 sketches, and P5 is a Java-based scripting language, taking that, reading in web cam data, and with mouse movements, we were actually able to kind of have some generative art going. So I'm going to do another screen share here really quickly. We're actually shutting down the display. I'm having a bunch of motion around me, but definitely wanted to get everybody to see what was going on here. So you can see this is actually taking webcam data, and I'm able to kind of like adjust the colors through mouse movements. I think I'm able to kind of like move my head around, see if I can shift. Yeah, you can kind of see that the shapes are changing, and as I'm moving the mouse, the colors are going as well. And I can click on this and it will give me a file to save. So, and each of these files are kind of like unique pieces of art. So basically you can take this art, print it out, or like run it through Fab modules and etch onto other pieces. So actually doing some computer-aided design, but using algorithms to kind of help the process, and then having like these really unique, really fun sort of pieces. Then also with the laser cutter, I did what was called the Global Design Challenge. So working with students based out of London, based out of China, based out of Australia. And we were working on what was called a planetary health cookbook. And so we actually, my team within the Global Design Challenge Studio, we actually worked on sort of like the issue of cardboard, single-use products, cereal boxes, cookie boxes, things that actually, you know, give you these snack foods, but then, you know, once you're done with them, you just throw them into the waste baskets. Well, here in Barcelona, I was able to actually go into those waste baskets. So thinking about trash cans as sort of like a source of materials, and it was actually kind of addicting to kind of like go and it's like a little bit of an Easter egg hunt to see like if there were cereal boxes or cookie boxes. But you can see like I did some modified basketry here, and basically I was finding these boxes and then cutting out the shapes on the laser cutter. So going through my local ecosystem, finding materials for crafting, and then bringing them back here to the Fab Lab for processing. Kind of in the way that in Louisiana, we would actually go through our local ecosystem, find palmetto, process the reeds for doing basket weaving. So how can I keep up that practice, but within this different geographical context? And then how can I also like use that practice to answer some of the deeper questions about single-use products and reducing and reusing to eliminate some of the waste that goes into our what? Let me see. Urban ecosystems. Yeah, that's going to be that's the best way to say that. I've actually been giving this presentation about a dozen times now, so I should be really smooth, right? Or really tired. Um, then for the second micro challenge for Fab Academy, I have this cabinet here that I made with another student by the name of Guillermo. And this is actually, you can see the top of it. It's called Planetary Soda. So this is a device that we came up with to actually kind of talk about public health issues and consumption of sugar, especially for school children, and how can we actually have something that promotes healthy eating habits, but then also forms a deeper connection with plants and vegetables. So we actually got a kit from a local business called Instagreen, These are microgreens that have been growing for over a week. Most of these are like peas. And you can see in the back of this cabinet, there is some really interesting etching here. That's actually an SVG of a topographical map of Barcelona. So the concept is like a couple of things. You can make these devices wherever you want, but each one would be signed sort of with this topographical map representation of where you are. But then also in the instance where you're actually growing greens, where seeds are harvested from elsewhere in your ecosystem, not necessarily like a store or business that you get these from, you can actually go and pin locations on this map that's at the back of this device. And so the LED strip here is in the place of what would be UV grow lights. We have a second compartment here, which is actually, some baking soda, some stevia, so some extra ingredients for making those carbonated beverages. And then below is, there we go, fan, light bulb, and some sifted lemon peel. So doing some dehydration of ingredients for these drinks. But in actuality, the utility of having this within, this sort of IndigiFab home design space, outside of the community Fab Lab space, where you would actually make these devices, actually bringing this technology into the home, we could actually further cultivate traditional medicines within the home. So really, really nice application. Um, so the overall concept of all of these interventions, all of this work that I've been doing over term 2, I actually, this is this is going to be like backwards and on its side, but basically that column there, we're talking about extending the dialogue of decolonization and indigeneity to recognize the agency of land. Everything that we do to explore the world is a political act in reflecting time and space. In a future home, digital technologies coexist with spiritual artifacts to assist with daily life. So that's sort of the overall goal, the vision of the IndigiFab project at this time, the close of term 2. For term 3, I'm actually thinking about returning back to the language piece, returning to some of that linguistic data that I've collected over term 2, but then also thinking about the subject of esoteric languages. So there are programming languages out there that, there's the Shakespeare programming language, where you can write about 3 pages of Shakespearean prose, kick that over to a compiler, and that would actually spit out hello world. Or there's a programming language called Chef, in which you can actually write out a recipe for a chocolate cake that actually works, and then kick that over to compiler, and then that'll make the program do something. But ultimately, I do want to kind of like revisit sort of this Catalan language data, so that we can actually have a language where I can perhaps compose a poem in Catalan, kick that over to a compiler and control in Arduino, or even, take it back to my own language of Tunica. How can I actually, spec out a Turing complete programming language with this esoteric languages concept, and have a programming language that's in the language which my tribe is actively doing revitalization in, a language that I can kick over to a compiler and control the electronics. So really, really exciting. I can't wait to, well, I can wait until spring break is over. We do need a couple of days, but yeah, that's the state of the work right now. So you can find out more about, my journey at indigifab.org. and hope you like it. Do a little quick spin around. All right. Ciao.